Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for having me as part of this wonderful day. What a brilliant session we've already had this morning. It's my pleasure to talk to you a little bit about the work that I do at MasterCard, and then also some perspectives on female-founded fintech. So what I actually wanted to concentrate on really is how we can start paying close attention to what's actually happening out there in the fintech space today and what I'm observing. I head up startup engagement for MasterCard. My team looks after a program that MasterCard runs called Start Path. And through that program, we engage with fast, high-potential startups and fintechs from all corners of the globe. I'm based out of Dublin, so I am the European representative. We also have a team in New York, Singapore, and Dubai. And our objective is to keep a real close eye on what's happening in those very well-known fintech hubs around the globe, but also the emerging hubs. So where is new stuff happening that should be important for both MasterCard and for our customers? And then how do we support those ecosystems and those individual entrepreneurs? So what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is what's happening in female-founded fintech, what's happening in VC, and what's happening when women create fintech businesses. So my question is, why should we pay close attention to the latest wave of female-led fintechs building better businesses? So first of all, I think we've all been observing for a while now that VC dollars are just not flowing in the female-founded fintech space. We've been tracking these figures over many, many years, and every year we wait for that end-of-year report that's going to tell us that this year things have really taken off and the VCs have paid attention. But sadly, I have bad news for you. In 2018, global VC into female-founded companies worldwide stood at 2.2%, which I actually think is worse than previous years. And then when we look at fintech, I pulled out the figure for the UK fintech female-founded company VC dollars last year, and that was at 3%. So pretty dismal, despite the fact that there has been so much conversation in this space. And we all know that part of the reason for this is because when a woman goes to pitch for funding from a VC, they will most likely be sitting over the other side of the table from not another woman, but actually a guy who's using pattern matching techniques to decide which startups to place money onto that are going to be successful. And that pattern matching algorithm that's going on in that VC's mind is pattern matching against what's gone before, which is a lot of male-founded companies. So we all know that actually we need a better flow of female VC partners. And today, the figures there are not looking great either. 74% of US VC firms have no female investors today. Now, I don't want to stand up here and beat up the VCs because I know that the dialogue is happening and we are seeing change. Arlen Hamilton is an amazing inspiration to all of us who are looking at startup companies and VC investment with her recent fundraise. And even she was saying earlier this year at the InspireFest event in Dublin that she can see that the change is happening. So we can all be optimistic that the figures are going to change. But I wanted to just tell a little story about a female-founded company that I met recently based out of San Francisco. And as part of MasterCard and our Start Path program, we look at companies that are slightly later stage, that have raised their investment, that have a product in the market and are ready to scale. And then our objective is to work with those companies to support their scale. So I was speaking to a female-founded VC in San Francisco, and I said, you know, we look at companies that have already raised a significant seed round of investment. And when we think about that, we think about $1 million of seed. And she said, well, I have good news for you because I've raised $600,000. And I said, yeah, but, you know, we typically look at $1 million. And she said, but it's good news for you because $600,000 into a female-founded company is about the equivalent of $2 million into a male-founded company, which I thought was very telling. And the reason that this is really troubling is because we also all know that when we look at the stats, female-founded companies actually deliver better returns for VC. They deliver better returns, they perform better, and they do so on less capital. It's almost 10 years since the fantastic white paper by Illuminate Ventures came out, which looked at the performance of women-led businesses on a number of metrics. One of the key things about that white paper, I remember reading it being so terribly struck almost 10 years ago, when a lot of what I had been hearing was how I needed to perform better as a woman, how I needed to be more confident, how I needed to look at role models, and how I needed to think about myself. And then I read the Illuminate white paper and had a penny drop moment that actually that is not the dialogue that I should be having out there with my colleagues. The dialogue should be that female-led businesses have proven to do better. And so that Illuminate white paper told us 10 years ago, 9 years ago actually, that women-led businesses achieve better results on 30% less capital than male-only led businesses. And then when we look to this year, there are 2 pieces of research that have been launched this year already that are supporting the performance of female-led businesses. So KPMG released a report on UK fintech earlier in the year, and that report showed us that female-led businesses were delivering about 112% internal rate on return for the investments that they were receiving, compared to about 48% for companies that only had men in the founding team. And then also Mass Challenge and Boston Consulting Group carried out a similar piece of research looking at return on investment. Female-led companies were delivering about 78% on 78 cents on the dollar compared to male-led companies, which were about 31 cents. So the news is good. Female-led companies are doing really good stuff. We're delivering the results. And therefore diversity and women in a leading role in a startup company should be seen as an asset from an investing point of view. So the other perspective that I wanted to build into this presentation on women and building better businesses is the fintech perspective. Because I've been really struck reading Brett King's book, Bank 4.0, on what the next wave of fintech is going to look like. And it's really interesting to me to start reading through that and then thinking about what I'm seeing on the ground when I'm engaging with fintech companies. So Brett is telling us, and a lot of what we've heard here at Money 2020 over the last couple of days is telling us that innovation in fintech needs to be not iterative, but much more grassroots and from the ground up. Brett talks about first principle design thinking, so not building on the systems that we have today, but actually starting from a needs basis, implementing design-led thinking, and creating systems that we all want to use from the ground up. We're told that banking 4.0 will be embedded and it will be ubiquitous. So we will be thinking about our relationship with banking in a whole new way. We will be doing it on a very regular basis. We will not be visiting a bank, but we will be seeing it in our everyday lives and in our everyday experiences. And moreover, banking 4.0 will be about experience and not about product. And this is really interesting to me when I look at some of the female-led companies that we've been engaging with, because my experience is that women start businesses to absolutely address these types of challenges. Women start businesses because they're starting from the point of view of the needs that they're experiencing in their lives. They are focused on building companies that are driven by a mission rather than from a mercenary point of view. And in fact, that Illuminate paper told us 10 years ago that about 15% of male entrepreneurs will say that they're in it to make business, to make money only, and about 2% of female-led companies will say the same thing. So when we put all of this together, female-led companies are performing better. Banking 4.0 is a massive opportunity for those types of companies. I'm really interested in thinking about whether there's actually a quiet revolution going on. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the work on women's contributions to the economy. There was a great paper back in 1990 around something that was called the Quiet Revolution at the time. So over the course of the 20th century, women's contribution to economies changed over 3 phases of evolution up until about 1970, when the baby boomers came of age. And there's a lot of literature out there about a quiet revolution that took place in 1970, where women contributed in a completely different way. It went from being evolutionary to revolutionary. Women started thinking about long-term careers. They started thinking about their education in new ways, and as a result, started contributing to the economy enormously. So what I'm thinking about is we're actually at that stage with female entrepreneurship now. We've had lots of evolutions, we've had lots of talking, but actually what we're starting to see, and I predict a quiet revolution where actually next year and the year after that, those figures are going to change, and we will see more investment coming into the space and more successful female entrepreneurs. And we're seeing them already, but my expectation is that we will see more. And that will be a result of more female VCs. It will be a result of seeing more and more business results. We are already seeing sheer volume of female-led companies coming into the pipeline. We're starting to hear that the limited partners in VC funds are thinking about diversity as a metric that they are tracking as well. So they're placing pressure on the pipeline from a very different point of view and requiring their VCs to be thinking about diversity when they're investing. And we've spoken a little bit about Bank 4.0 offering us a massive opportunity to match where women's specialisms are when they're creating great businesses. And then the final point about the quiet revolution is, from a StartPath point of view, we have been tracking the applications that we receive from all of the companies. We evaluate about 2,000 startups every year, and we've been tracking those that have a woman in a leading position and holding equity. And over the past couple of years, those numbers have been steady state between 30 to 40%. In 2018, those numbers went up to 60%. So 60% of the applications we were seeing justify the fact that there is that volume of female entrepreneurs coming through. So what I wanted to talk about is, should we be thinking about this as a quiet revolution? Because when I look at those companies that have women in a leading role, what tends to happen is, when we sit down and meet those companies, it's not the woman that we speak to. It's the male who's the CEO, and maybe the woman's the COO, and the guy comes in and pitches to us. And that, to me, is a little bit disappointing. So my goal for this year, for next year, and going forward is to not make this a quiet revolution, but to make it a very vocal and seen revolution. So what I wanted to do with the rest of my talk was actually show you some of the women that we've been working with recently. Our goal is not to increase the number of female-founded companies coming through our program in order to demonstrate the numbers, but rather to ensure that we're giving those women a platform and ensuring that they are seen. So in every case where we have a female founder, we will make sure that that is the person who pitches on stage at an event, that is the person who leads the message as they come into our organization, and as we bring them to our customers' organizations. Female-founded fintech, for me, is all about being seen and heard. So this is Laurie. Laurie is the CMO of a company called Viridium. Viridium has created a brand new biometric. Biometrics incredibly important to us all. The reason that I absolutely love this company is because they are not innovating with existing biometrics that we're all using at the moment. They have created a novel 4-finger biometric, which is particularly exciting because at the moment we cannot capture Touch ID on old-style smartphones in emerging markets, but we can capture 4-finger ID using a front-facing camera on an old-style smartphone, and that is what these guys are bringing into the market. Very much cause-driven company who recognizes a problem, and MasterCard, we're working with them on a project in the healthcare space in order to track individuals in emerging markets. Next is Daniela Braga, based in the US. Daniela was a speech scientist at Microsoft. She has a PhD. She worked on a number of Microsoft speech projects, and she decided that her pain was everybody else's pain in the industry, in artificial intelligence. So she's founded a company called Defined Crowd, which has raised money from investors, including MasterCard and also Microsoft, to create a new approach to data. Data is the absolute holy grail of building artificial intelligence solutions, and in lots of cases in banking and finance, it is a cold start problem where the data cannot be accessed for creating those wonderful interfaces using speech and text, and that's what Daniela's company is solving for, the creation of that data using both machine learning techniques, but also crowdsourcing that data. Sanneke Mulderink, based here in Amsterdam, has a company called Transa. Transa is all about enabling us all to use public transport in new ways. So the Transa system, and I encourage you all to download the Transa app as you travel from here to the airport or wherever you're going today, to make sure that you're using multimodal transit systems as you go. Dale Pfeiffer is the CEO of Goodworld. Dale hails from New Zealand, and Dale has built a payments solution to enable us to donate in a more frictionless fashion. So we are able to use social media, see a compelling donations campaign from a charity, and instead of having to go through that friction-full process of diving off social media and going onto the charity's website to donate, we can do that with a simple hashtag donate. That is what Dale has created. Edna is based in Ghana, and Edna's company, M-Farm Pay, is enabling organizations to lend to farmers in Ghana and Kenya by utilizing novel credit scoring attributes, not the traditional credit scoring attributes that we know in the developed world, but more the types of things that are not readily available, like satellite data of farms, to enable us to see how farm yield is likely to play out and therefore create better credit scores for farmers. And Katrina Dow from Australia, Katrina's company Miko, is rethinking digital identity and working on the sovereignty of our data in order to create a scenario where we can take better control of our data and play into the digital ID situation. So I suppose the reason that I share this with you today is because why does this matter? Why should we pay attention? Well, from my point of view, female-led businesses are the future of fintech. My expectation is those 60% applications that we're seeing will translate into wonderful businesses that we will be able to work with in MasterCard. We are taking steps ourselves. Our program has a focus on ensuring that we have equality between male and female-led companies. Beyond that, within MasterCard, we are also working with organizations like Astia, which is a VC firm that is focused on only investing in female-led companies. For fintechs everywhere, we have an open door to make it easy to engage, to get your products on the market, and we're really excited about the future of female-led fintech. Thank you very much for the time.